Right, so Joey Carbstrong was actually on the BBC, and I just wanted to do like a response to the BBC video.
50% of the cow flesh in this country comes from spent dairy cows. So all of the animals in the dairy industry will end up at a slaughterhouse. So they'll be killed against their will.
So a sort of efficient use of those animals then?
It doesn't make it moral.
So I think what people don't realise is the actual abuse that dairy cows go through. So for example, if we compare the lifespan of a male calf in the dairy industry with the lifespan of a male calf in the beef industry, male calves in the dairy industry are actually killed at a much younger age. So they're killed around 8 months old in the dairy industry, when they can live up to a year in the beef industry. There's also the issue of mastitis and lameness with dairy cows. Due to over milking, they have health issues such as mastitis, which is a really painful infection of the udders, and lameness, which is where their hooves get really soft and fractured, and sometimes they get infections in those fractures.
If we got in its way, that is what's been going on for 8,000 years. We've been drinking milk.
Exactly, that's
true.
And
that is, our bodies have actually mutated to produce an enzyme called lactase, which allows lactose, which is the sugar in milk, to be digested by our gut. So our bodies...
Most human beings...
Right, so about, I think it's something like 90% of Japanese and Chinese people are actually lactose intolerant. On top of that, in the UK, I think it's like 10% of the population is lactose intolerant. But that's kind of irrelevant whether we've been doing something for thousands and thousands of years. It doesn't make that particular thing moral. I mean, slavery is legal in some countries, and slavery has been around for thousands of years. It doesn't make slavery moral.
We can get calcium from plants.
Yeah,
what have you got against
proved.
plants? Plants are living things.
They're not...
Right, so plants don't have a central nervous system or a brain, and there's no scientific research to prove that plants actually can feel pain at all. If Piers would like to find some kind of, do some kind of scientific breakthrough on national TV, that would be great, but there isn't any evidence to show that they actually feel pain.
But to kill animals for a product we don't need is cruel.
You have every right to be a vegan, as I have every right to be a meat eater. And you can do that. But please don't thrust the message down everyone's throats that we all have to change to...
Well, aside from killing animals, there's a very, very far-reaching consequences of animal agriculture. So, for example, when we look into actually people working in a slaughterhouse, it actually increases the crime rate in that local area. It increases like domestic violence and various other sorts of crimes. On top of which, 15% of global warming is down to animal agriculture, and this actually leads to human death. Basically because people have their food, people aren't able to access food anymore, and their homes become destroyed due to flooding and that kind of thing. So it doesn't just harm animals, but animal agriculture harms humans as well.
Cruelty. So this is your belief.
But animal welfare standards mean that we're supposed and expected to treat those animals well. And unfortunately, as part of the natural human food chain, we do eat animals. We just don't chase them down and kill them anymore.
What?
Despite us having the best animal welfare standards in the world, I think, or in Europe at least, we still can do atrocious things to animals. For example, we're still able to castrate animals with no anaesthetic. We're able to rip animals' tails off with no anaesthetic. We, kill animals at a much younger age than their natural lifespan. We're looking at the dairy industry. The dairy industry kills male calves at 8 months. And female cows at 6 years, when they can live up to 20 years in the wild.
So if the cows weren't taken to slaughterhouses but just stayed in fields and were milked that way, you'd have no problem with it?
If the cows were left alone and stopped being forcibly impregnated, so we have this high population...
My question is, if they were just in the fields and they were milked every day and they weren't taken would you be fine with that?
We shouldn't be exploiting...
So the issue is that it wouldn't be economic to produce milk in a way that I would find appropriate. So, for example, if we allowed male calves and female cows to live out their natural lifespan, milk would, be a lot more money. You might be looking at spending, £25 on a carton of milk as opposed to what you're spending now, as opposed to £1 that you're spending now. On top of which, I don't find the process of artificial insemination appropriate either. It causes scarring and bruising and infections, so you also wouldn't get a constant supply of milk like you do at the moment. So it just wouldn't be possible to produce milk in a way that I think is right. And that's why I don't drink milk.
The industry, my friend.
Do you renounce... I mean, you've talked about the fact it's unfair to launch a personal attack on you because of your past, but do you renounce all violence against, for instance, the farming industry or butchers?
So the issue here is that I don't really understand why the media focuses on vegans, maybe spray painting a butcher shop or sending a 1-star review on Facebook or some kind of nasty comments on Facebook. I think that vegans have or animal rights activists are a lot more at risk from violent attacks by slaughterhouse workers or hunters than people who actually work in the slaughterhouse or work in a butcher shop. This is basically because when animal rights activists are at an event, like at a vigil for an animal save, or if they're protesting about duck hunting, they're actually putting themselves in a dangerous situation. They're putting themselves between someone and a gun, between someone and a car, and there are 3 examples I know of vegan activists actually being physically harmed or killed by hunters. I don't know of any hunters being physically harmed or killed by vegans. One was a vegan a couple of years ago, 20 years ago now, and she was actually run over by a truck sending veal calves, exporting veal calves to slaughter overseas. There was another example of a woman who was actually shot in the face because she was protesting about duck hunting. And there was an earthling Ed just a few months ago was actually hit in the face by a slaughterhouse worker who wanted him to stop protesting about animals being sent to the slaughterhouse. And I really think this needs to be the focus of the police, the animal rights groups and slaughterhouse workers. We all need to work together to actually protect animal rights activists. Thanks for watching, guys, and please subscribe and like this video. Bye, guys.